We have a lot to cover tonight, but before we do, Kedakinu Bakodesh, we'll give some Divrei Musar. This last week in Minyan, I sent an idea over from the Sfat Emet. Korach, he had a claim on Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron. He believed he deserved to be the Kohen Gadol himself. Rabotai, come. Korach, he believed that he should be the Kohen Gadol himself. So he launched a rebellion against Moshe and against his brother in order to take over the Kohanut, along with 250 people. The Torah tells us that as Moshe Rabbeinu was defending his brother, he used a specific pasuk. Pasuk says, "Ve'aron mahu kitalinu alav." What is Aaron? What did Aaron do to you that you're complaining against him? Keep this pasuk in mind because it's important. He comes along and he says, "Ve'aron mahu." What did Aaron HaKohen did to you? Kitalinu alav, that you complained against him. That's a simple pashat. A more in-depth pashat is that if a person wants a litmus test of how he's doing in his midot, a characteristic litmus test of how a person is doing, does he overreact in certain situations? The Gemara says that there's three ways. Gemara Eruvin, the three ways a person can test his anger, and those three ways are bikiso, bikaso, bikoso, or bikaso. Those three ways. With the person's cup, with the person's pocket, and with the person's anger. What does that mean? Means that let's take the koso, the cup, as an example. If you see a guy and he is generally very, very calm type of person, he has a calm demeanor. All of a sudden, when he begins to drink a little bit, he tends to get a little wild. So the rabbis tell us that bikoso, that a person's cup reveals who his true nature is, and therefore, even though he is calm when he is not drinking, but when he gets excited, when he gets loud, when he gets very aggravated when he's drinking, that means that is really his characteristic. His characteristic is a person who gets agitated easily, and just the wine brings it out. That's bikoso. Bikiso is something similar, his pocket. People generally don't like when a person goes after their money. And therefore, the guy can be a very calm type of person, but all of a sudden you touch his pocket, you go after his money, and he's going to bite you. Therefore, that's the way, bikiso. Another way, his pocket, in order to determine a person's character traits. And the last one is bikaso. You get a person angry, you get a person agitated, and see how he reacts. And based on the way he reacts, that's who his character trait really is. Now, Korach knew the Gemara, and therefore he tried to use this three ways to agitate Aaron HaKohen. But the problem is that two out of three ways don't apply to Kohen Gadol. For an example, because the Kohen Gadol cannot drink. It's a sur for the Kohen to drink any wine, especially when he goes inside to the Avodah. Therefore, Korach said, I can't test Aaron with bikoso. Koso, out the window. Let me test him bikiso. Let me touch his pocket and let me get him angry and see how he reacts. Problem is, the Kohen Gadol also doesn't apply because the Kohen Gadol, Gemara tells us, had to be rich. And he had to be rich from who? From his brothers. The people had to support him. And therefore, since he was being supported by the people, he didn't necessarily care about his hard-worked money because it wasn't really that hard-earned. And therefore, he felt like, listen, you could touch my pocket all I want. Lahavdil. The gangsters, right? The mobsters, they throw money. They're very generous. They flaunt their money everywhere. The guy opens the door for them, $100. The guy pours them a drink, $100. Shot is because they didn't make the money. Since they didn't make the money, they were like, I'm stealing it anyway, therefore it doesn't matter. Lahavdil, of course. Aaron HaKohen, same thing. He wasn't making the money. People were giving it to him. And therefore, money was not something that spoke to him that would get him agitated if you touched it. Therefore, kiso, out of the window. So Korach therefore decided to test him with kaso. He decided to go after his angry. He tried to claim against him that Aaron HaKohen, you are not fit to be Kohen Gadol. And by saying that he hoped Aaron HaKohen would get agitated. And if he get agitated, says Korach, look, this is your Kohen Gadol, this is your leader, Rabotai. He's not fit to be Kohen Gadol. Unfortunately, his plan failed miserably because Aaron HaKohen is the epitome of humbleness. He's the epitome of a person that's calm. And therefore, Korach can come all he wants and try to agitate the Kohen Gadol, but it's not going to go anywhere. Therefore, come back to the pasuk. When Moshe Rabbeinu came along and says, Ve'aron mahu, you want to know who Aaron HaKohen is? Ve'aron mahu kitalinu alav. If you complain against him and you see that all your agitation, all your complaints, all your trying to get him upset, kitalinu alav, will not help. And therefore, Korach's plan got flushed out the window. Now that is a beautiful pashat, but I thought to somehow tie it in to the mitzvah that we're learning today of Netilat Yadayim. And we'll say reverse. Really, I'll tell you that Korach, he knew that even B'Ka'aso, he can't get Aaron HaKohen. Ka'aso is also out the window. Aaron HaKohen, at the end of the day, he's most humble, he's most calm. If he's anything like Moshe Rabbeinu, which I'm assuming he is, therefore you can't get the guy agitated. He's a leader of the Jewish people, he's considered Gadol Hador, you're not getting him agitated, forget about it. So I'll really tell you that Aaron HaKohen, that Korach, he tried to test Aaron HaKohen with koso. He tried to go after his cup. But you just told me that the Kohen Gadol is not allowed to drink. Well, I'll tell you, the koso in this situation is not referring to the cup of drink. It's referring to the cup of netilat yadayim. That Korach came along and he tried to say, Jewish people, Rabutai, the Kohen Gadol is not washing netilat yadayim. And we see this is true, by the way, because we saw a correlation last week and 2 weeks ago how netilat yadayim is compared to the Kohen Gadol. Because we saw in halacha that where do we know? Where do we learn from? This is a little bit of hazara. Where do we know that the cup that you're using to wash netilat yadayim, that has to be shalem, has to be a complete cup? And where do we know that has the water that's inside the cup has to be clean? We learned it from kiddush yadayim v'raglayim, from the Kohen Gadol washing his hands and feet in the Beit HaMikdash. So we see there's a correlation between Kohen and a cup. Therefore, come Korach and he said, Rabutai, Aaron HaKohen is not fit because he's not washing netilat yadayim properly. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu and says, no, Rabutai, you're wrong. V'Aaron mahu. You want to know what Aaron HaKohen is? Kitalino alav. Complain against him. Now, what does the claim, what is the defense of Moshe Rabbeinu of Kitalino have to do with the ta'ana of Korach? Of course. Korach is coming to him and he's complaining about kos, which is netilat yadayim. Moshe Rabbeinu is coming along and saying Kitalinu. Kitalinu is a kaso defense. What does Moshe Rabbeinu come along and say Kitalinu when it's an anchor defense, not a kos defense? Rabotai, listen to the following darash. If you take the gematria, we'll do it together. In fact, I wrote it on the board so no one gets confused. If you take the gematria of Kitalinu, Taf, that's 400. Lamed, that's 30. That's 430. 440. Rabotai? 490? 496. So Kitalinu is 496. 496. Beautiful. If you take the gematria of Netilah, let's do it backwards because it's easier. 400, Taf 400. 430. 450. 490. 499. Oh, unfortunately, Netilah and Kitalinu doesn't work out. However, how many hands do we wash Netilat Yadayim? How many hands do we wash, Abutai? Wash 2 hands. So this equals 501. Still doesn't equal. Well, if you take in Gematria, we're lucky. Because in Gematria, not only could you add up how much the letters actually add, but you could also add how many letters there are on the word. Kitalinu, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 496 plus 5, 501. So you come along and Aaron HaKohen tells Moshe Rabbeinu comes to the defense of his brother and he says, no, Aaron mahu. You want to know who Aaron HaKohen is? Kitalinu alav. He's definitely washing netilat yadayim, Rabotai. And therefore, there's no complaint against Aaron HaKohen. Rabotai, this drasha is very significant because number one, it teaches me how a person should act when he's agitated. You know, a lot of times we get into these stressful situations where a person he's late to work and the kids are still not dressed or they're still not even up and they're still brushing their teeth and the bus is coming and the guy has to get to work. He gets agitated. How do we act? Ba'aron mahu. You want to know how a person is at that moment? Kitalino alav. You have to agitate him and see how he reacts. The guy hasn't eaten in 8 hours and he gets to the restaurant and the food is not ready. It's taking 25 minutes to come out. It's 30 minutes to come out. And he's getting hangry. He's getting agitated. Ba'aron mahu. You want to know who that person is at that time? Kitalino alav. You have to complain. You have to complain against them. You have to get him agitated. You know, a person has to go to the wedding and he's ready in his suit and tux for already since 5 o'clock and his wife she's still doing her eye makeup. Mahu. You don't know who the person is? Kitalino alav. Complain against him, agitate him, and see the way he reacts. That's on one side. But no, that's what we see how important the mitzvah of netilat yadayim is, Rabotai. If it wasn't for this pshat of Moshe Rabbeinu coming to defense of Aaron, you see from this episode, from the mitzvah of netilat yadayim, Aaron won the whole discourse between him and Korah. Therefore, I say this mitzvah is of extreme importance, especially like I said last week during the summer. A lot of times when people are more lax when it comes to this mitzvah, they always look for the heter. Just the other day I was inside a pizza store and the person tells his son, "Why don't you wash?" He says, "I don't want to wash." It shouldn't be like that. We should really push in order to look for situations where we could wash netilat yadayim. We see how important it is. At the end of the day, we're always looking at the bag. Is it mizonot? Is there apple juice? Is it sugar? Just to make it sweet, so we don't have to wash netilat yadayim. You see from this mitzvah, you see from this episode in the Torah that is of extreme importance. Okay, Ad kan devrei musar.